Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have David B. Dowlen, also known as Brent, the founder of the Fallible Man and host of Driven to Thrive, Purpose, Growth, and Lasting Impact for Men. Brent has a unique blend of experience from his early days as a writer, his time in youth ministry, and a deep passion for empowering men to become better husbands, fathers, and individuals. Based in Quincy, Washington, the Fallible Man, founded in 2020, is transforming how men approach personal development through podcasts, books, and events like the Phoenix Conference. We'll be exploring his founding story, how his business inspires men to live with purpose, and his vision for scaling this mission-driven venture. So let's dive right in. Brent, welcome to Founders Future.
Jay, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for the conversation today.
Absolutely. So am I. I know we had a nice little conversation before we started, so really looking forward to getting into it for our listeners here, Brent. So with that, let's start at the very top here. Take us back to the beginning. What specific problem in the men's personal development space really inspired you to start the Fallible Man?
So it came about on a roundabout direction because the problem that really started was the lack of clear understanding between the women I knew in my life and the way, like, communicating with their boyfriends or husbands. It all started there because I would sit and translate. We used to have a weekly gathering with our friends. I had all these women in my house, and they'd be like, "Oh, my boyfriend's doing this," and I told him this, and you do understand what he actually was saying, right? What that's actually about. And they're like, "No." And so I would translate these things, and I actually had a bunch of people ask me to start writing a book.
Hmm.
And I had all these red flags in my head. It was before the term mansplaining became popular, but there were still those warning bells of, oh, this is going to end badly.
Yeah.
So I started looking at the problem from the other direction of, how do I help men connect with the people they love the most? How do I help men step into who they really want to become? Because the conversations I was having with their husbands and boyfriends were these guys, most of them were younger than me, who were aimless at the
Hmm.
time. They're just trying to get to that American dream and get the house, all that, right? But they were really aimless. And so it all started there.
Hmm.
And that moved into me starting to try to write a book, which led me to self-publishing. Is, oh, I have to have an audience if somebody's going to read that. And I tried social media, and it turns out I hate that.
Okay.
And I'm not going to do something I truly hate. And so I migrated over to podcasting. I have years of experience. My dad was a domestic missionary. And
Gotcha.
so I've been speaking in front of crowds of 200 or more since I was 11 years old.
Wow.
Most people, the number one fear out there is public speaking.
Yep.
And I don't get it. I'm that guy. You put me in front of a couple hundred people, I come alive. I thrive on stage. And so I was like, I can talk. Talking to a camera turned into a different thing, but yeah, that's where it all started.
Incredible. I know that you've gone through a bit of changes, right, from when you started to now. So walk us through here, Brent, how the Fallible Man's offerings have evolved since you started in 2020. So from what you're providing for your clients to who you're serving, how's that changed to now?
That journey evolved with me because when I started the podcast, the idea was, I want to sell books. I need to build an audience because I'm going to sell this book. It's 2025 and I still haven't finished that book.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have 120 pages written before I ever started the podcast, but I've never finished the book because as I pursued the business aspect of podcasting, I fell in love with what I was doing. I also fell in love with the possibilities of what I was doing. And the more I dug into being in personal development for men, my ideals on it started shifting and changing and really fleshing out even more. So that was the offering. I was going to build an audience and sell a book. And that was what my goal was. And I started a business when I started my podcast because that was the end goal. And I was going to publish the book through the business.
Right.
That was the big plan. And so I started podcasting, and then I had to evolve that into, how do I fund this? How do I keep this going? And so I started digging into the business side of podcasting, right? How do podcasts make money? And so I started trying to develop things that would work in that, right? First off, right, I started with the idea that everybody does in podcasting is I got to get big enough to get sponsors. And sponsorships really are not actually the greatest income for podcasts. But it took me a few years to figure that out.
Yeah.
So it all started with selling the book. Then it was, now I got to have an audience so I can sell the audience, so I can fund it to sell the book. You can see this gets more convoluted as we go.
Yep.
And then we started evolving into, what am I trying to sell? What is the end goal with this? Because all of a sudden I started looking at it as a business, not just a podcast. And then I had to jump on the whole train of, I know nothing about starting a business.
Okay.
So many things I did not know in this evolution. 5 years later, I look back at that beginning and say, wow, I'm not sure how I survived 5 years, but okay. But as that evolved, I love working with people.
Yep.
I love working directly with people. Everywhere I've ever been, I've always become a trainer or an educator of some form. I was in white collar IT industry for a big corporation, and I was the division trainer. And we'd go and set up teams and train all our new people and write all their documentation. I've been a personal trainer, and I love doing personal training just because I like to help people move to that next goal.
Yeah.
Whatever I've gotten into, that's where I always end up. It was the same in youth ministry. And so I started evolving into the idea of coaching. Okay, so I started going, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be a coach. I really had no idea what an offering looked like to be a coach.
Right.
I know I'm really good at connecting with somebody and helping them move, but I had no idea how to market that or how to advertise that. And so I spent a couple of years just tripping over that. I had a good friend of mine who's a business coach, very successful, take pity on me because I was at a breaking point.
Yeah.
And he's, Brent, I love your heart, but you have to understand it's okay to ask for money.
Yeah.
I know you want to help everybody, but you have to put food on the table still.
Yeah.
And so we started working that process. And much to his dismay, I never got really far with what I was doing with him because I wasn't ready yet. Like, I know several people who have worked with him who are highly successful. He is extraordinarily successful, but I wasn't at a place where I could hear what he was teaching me yet. And so I was still trying to figure out what that offer was. And so I kept throwing out these like little offers. Oh, I'll do this. But I didn't know how to market it. I didn't know how to sell it. I was afraid to ask people for money or to like ask people to like take that bet. And so, yeah, this evolution has just been a constantly changing process for me because I'm learning all the things I didn't know about what I didn't know and having to tackle those one at a time through the process. And so I told you before the show, we just went through a major evolution. We just rebranded the podcast. We're the Fallible Man for well over 300 episodes. January 2025, we rebranded the podcast because I've learned more about marketing. And I realized I would explain the Fallible Man title to somebody. They'd be like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But it didn't, like someone scrolling through Apple Podcasts, they have no idea what that's about. And they're not going to stop and look. Right. So I changed it up to try and convey with the title what it's about, what people are getting out of it, who's it for. And at the same time, we've evolved our offers. I'm about to literally a couple weeks away from launching our new signature coaching program. And we did a complete rebuild on the website. I completely wiped out my old website, started from scratch, built something that looks entirely different. I'm so much happier with it. But I did that myself as well. So I've had to do all these components all along, which is why I've probably taken longer to head into success than some people because I've been doing the whole act solo and just learning everything I needed to along the way.
And it's funny because I think that's the most beautiful part about being a business owner, right? You have the ability to take in and a bird's eye view as to everything that's going on. Trip and fall a bunch of times, get back up, dust yourself off, keep on looking and figuring out what works best, and look at where we are now. Right now, you have a coaching program. That's where you really see your passion lies. That's where everything in life has guided you. Hey, you're supposed to be a coach, man. Really blinking lights there, and being able to have that success, rebranding the podcast, just incredible for what you're able to do. So walk us through now into the nuts and bolts of the Fallible Man. So you have the coaching program launching in 2 weeks. So as of right now, no coaching yet. You're going to start that in 2 weeks. It's going to be one-on-one coaching, group coaching. What's the plan for that?
So in the past, I've actually offered other programs. I fully developed out a relationship program for people who were going deep, called Relationship Builders, who wanted to just go deep into all the relationships, just learn to actually thrive at any relationship in their life. While it's very effectual for a husband and wife relationship, it's also like a lot of the material I cover in that one actually is very beneficial. And I applied it to my work relationships when I was in the corporate world to solve problems at work as well. And so I have that program that I had built out and a couple other programs that I tried to push out over the years. And there's so much noise. I found out that my marketing skills were just so lacking
Yeah.
at trying to get out there ahead of the noise. I had overstretched myself on too many platforms. And so the nuts and bolts of the Fallible Man is it's my base company, right? It's everything I do out of it. We actually do, so I do affiliate marketing. I have a sponsor with My Pillow, and that provides part of the income for my company. I do digital marketing. I have a client who has a marketing business, and I do a lot of the back end, just laborious creative work for his company to help pay the bills. As I've been, like, I don't know, I've sunk over $500,000 into this business in 5 years. My wife and I collectively decided as a joint, she owns 50% of the business. We liquidated our entire life savings trying to stand this on our own. And as we have struggled through that, right, I've had to spread out what my company does. I've done some speaking gigs and stuff like that too, right? I've had to spread out. As we move forward, the core of the Fallible Man has always and will always be helping men live more purposeful, intentional lives. Because I think when men start to align with that purpose and see that there's more to their life, I see it as a bigger solution for the world, right? If you look at statistics, because a lot of men are very statistic driven, right? You fix crime rates, you fix drug use, you fix home abuse, you fix domestic violence, you fix the statistics that men who are focused on living with purpose and intention fixes, changes the world radically.
Yeah.
And so at our core, every offering we make is that. We do some other stuff on the side to help pay the bills while we're getting established, while we're building our brand out. I had a major setback a couple of years. I got deplatformed.
Wow.
I got deplatformed in 2024. I went from a top 1% global podcast to almost no listeners overnight.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it floored me. And so we're really in a rebuilding phase right now because I had more than 16,000 downloads a month on my show. I lost my audience. And all of a sudden, my coaching programs, I'm not getting traction on them because now I've got 300 people listening to my show instead of 16 to 20,000.
Yep.
And we're in this rebuilding phase after years of work. That's why I've had to expand on some stuff. But the core of everything we do will always be about helping men, because so many men don't know there's more to their life than just that American dream.
Absolutely. So with that, so now your focus is scaling, right? And growing. You have the coaching program, which is going to be really where you're going to be looking to bring in new clients there.
Yes.
As of right now, you're not doing anything around that. Once that coaching program comes out, you start working on acquisition and bringing new leads in and pushing out, getting ads running and all that. As far as, are you still going to be running the show on that front on your own, as far as bringing in a client and the whole nine? You don't have anyone working with you there. Is your wife helping you out on that front at all, or is sales going to be fully taken over by you to get new clients in the door?
For now, sales is all on me. Like, my days start at 4 a.m. and end between 9 and 10, and I do it again the next day. And I do that 7 days a week right now. And there are days that my days start at 4 a.m. and end at midnight, and I do it again. That's just the phase we're in. my goal is to be able to expand that, right? I want to get to a point financially in the business where I can bring in like a virtual assistant or an actual employee to take over the day-to-day publication. Because right now, like I'm also a podcast producer. I produce multiple other shows right now for part of my income. And I would like to scale it where I can start to move in talent to do that, because that's a time suck for me. Ed- Editing a podcast is a time suck, especially if you do video.
Yeah.
And all the social media, like posting all of it, sharing it out. There's such a time suck in there. And it's, that is not, my time is better spent making content
Right.
and coaching than, so that is the first hire we're aiming for. My wife is working 2 part-time jobs. We homeschool our kids.
Oh, wow.
So we,
Yeah, wow. It's a lot going
we're,
on.
yeah, we're going pretty much around the clock here.
I
And
love
so that is what I'd like to spread to, is I need to get somebody who can take care of, it's the same kind of stuff I actually do for one of my clients right now, because he's in that point with his business where he's trying to scale and bring in more business. And so he needed to take those laborious tasks like that and have somebody else filling that so he can focus on new clients and stuff like that. And that is the next stage I want to get to, is once we get the program launched, I would, and some money coming in from those programs, then it will be invest that in somebody. I have a friend who has a excellent VA that does all his video editing, and he has great videos, and I might try and push him or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of it. Bottleneck wise, what you're thinking about obviously is getting yourself out of being the bottleneck, right? Getting rid of all of your other responsibilities, being able to fully focus on the Fallible Man, fully focus on coaching and what you're passionate about. Everything else is noise right now to keep yourself afloat. And then the full priority for you is going to be the Fallible Man moving forward, especially with the coaching program coming out in 2 weeks, is what I'm gathering, right?
Oh yeah, that has always been, everything else was a means to get to coaching. That's where I wanted to get to. I didn't realize it at first, but I, so I'll tell you a story. The last time we had to take 2 years off conference now. The last conference we did, I had a guy who almost didn't come. I met him through a friend, and he's like, yeah, I heard about this. And then I talked to him. He's, oh, I didn't know there was a cost. I'm tight on my, I was like, dude, there's a ticket at the front door, just show up.
Yep.
At the end of the conference, I got up on stage. I was doing the closing. I went to walk out of the auditorium. So I get to the door. I want to make sure and shake everybody's hand, talk to everybody on the way out. He throws his arms around me. He said, you saved my life. And I said, you chose to be here. Since then, in the aftermath, the guy was on the verge of losing his job to alcohol. He was on the verge of losing his wife. Since then, he's been clean and sober. He's become an intentional father. He has a great relationship with his wife. His job is rock solid. He has turned his life around. And those kind of, being able to make any one of those, just one of those, I would have been happy with. If I can help a guy make one step forward, then that is a valuable use of my time.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. I just have one more question for you here, Brent, just to wrap us up in the lightning round. Just so insightful and truly a pleasure having you on the show, really walking us through the way your mind is working. And again, appreciate your drive and your grit and your passion. Because to be honest with you, Brent, so many people would have given up by now. To be completely honest with you, 5 years in, with everything that you've gone through, to still be here pursuing and pushing, and you're very close to your goals of what you're going to get to, and I'm very confident you're going to achieve them with that passion and drive you have. So my question for you is for our listeners, and that's going to be as far as the advice that you can provide, especially to the men tuning in right now, just starting out on their personal development journeys. What can you offer them? You're going to be moving into coaching. What can you give them before we wrap up the episode here?
If you will hone in on living in alignment with your purpose, you will find a deeper joy in every aspect of your life, and everything else will start to come into, like, everything else will start to smooth out once you start to live in alignment with who you're meant to be and what you're meant to be doing. That doesn't mean you have to give up your job or anything. You can live your purpose where you're at, but when you start living the rest of your life in alignment with that purpose, everything else is going to be better for you.
With that right there, that is going to wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Brent, again, just thank you so much for coming on the show. An incredible journey so far, coming on, sharing your insights with us. And again, as I just mentioned, I know that you're going to do some incredible things in life, in the space, with the coaching. So I'm truly excited to see how far you can take it and the successes that will continue to come your way. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know so many of you have, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also check out The Fallible Man at thefalliblemanpodcast.com for their latest episodes and resources. And follow Brent on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/David-B-Dowlen. For more resources and insights, visit closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next one.